Hey everybody, welcome to the Lakers Nation newsfeed. My name is Trevor Lane, senior writer for LakersNation.com. You can follow me on Twitter at Trevor_Lane. So there I was, it's Friday, and I'm getting ready to head out to Las Vegas to cover the Lakers in the Las Vegas Summer League. Heading out tomorrow morning, so I'm packing. And lo and behold, news breaks that Carmelo Anthony is going to be parting ways with the Oklahoma City Thunder, either by trade or by being waived and stretched, and that the Lakers are one of three teams that he could wind up landing with, the other ones being the Houston Rockets and Miami Heat. So I put aside my suitcase here for a moment and figured we should probably record one more show before we make the trip out to Las Vegas and take a look at just how Carmelo Anthony might fit with the Lakers, because it feels like Lakers fans are very pessimistic about this. When the news started floating around that maybe the Thunder were going to waive Anthony or at least get rid of him somehow, I ran a poll on Twitter and asked whether or not fans would like to see Carmelo Anthony with the Lakers, and it was 60-40 against. There were 60% of fans said no, they did not want him there, and I was surprised at how strong some of these opinions were. People thought it was ridiculous to consider bringing a 34-year-old Carmelo Anthony to the Los Angeles Lakers. So let's dig in a little bit and let's talk about what the situation is and what might happen if the Lakers do indeed add him. So the Thunder, it makes a ton of sense for them to waive Anthony, for them to get rid of him somehow. He's making $28 million this year. He did pick up that option, and they will save over $100 million in luxury taxes. $100 million. That's way too much to even consider not waiving Anthony, right? I mean, this is an obvious choice for them to go ahead and get rid of him. Now, it said they're going to, Woj of ESPN reported that they're going to at least try to maybe trade him, maybe deal him to a team that wants to try to free up cap space in 2019 because Melo will be an expiring contract. So maybe they'll look to accept maybe a smaller but more long-term deal or something to that effect. But most likely, even if he gets traded, the team that gets him is just going to waive him. So Melo is probably going to be on the market no matter what happens here within maybe the next few days, perhaps a week. We don't know how long this process is going to take. But if the Lakers are indeed one of the teams that is interested, here's what they'd be getting. And one of the things that Melo would bring that stands out to me is he's an 81% free throw shooter on his career. Now, the Lakers were one of the worst teams in the league last season. In fact, they may have been the worst. I know they were for quite a while, but they were at the bottom in terms of free throw shooting last season. And Melo is an over 80% free throw shooter, so that's something that could help. Right, we saw Isaiah Thomas last season come in, and he immediately started taking most of the team's free throws, technical free throws, and things like that, because he's a good free throw shooter, and the Lakers just didn't have that. They didn't have very many good shooters, so he helps in that way. He also shot in the mid-30s from three for his career, so we're not talking like he's a 43% knockdown shooter like Steph Curry or anything like that, but his career average from three is in the mid-30s. Ironically, it's about the same as Rajon Rondo has been shooting the last few seasons. So it's a little bit of a misnomer there that Rondo is a poor shooter. But we'll get into that on a future show. Carmelo Anthony shooting the mid-30s from three. Again, not great, but good. Good enough to where he at least makes teams respect him, to where you have to cover him. If you just leave him wide open all the time, he will make you pay. So that's important to note. Let's dig a little deeper. Going into synergy, his synergy stats, he is in the 45th percentile overall on offense. Okay, so that means that 55% of the NBA is better than him on the offensive end. He is better than 45% of the league. Okay, but if we drill down a little bit further, we can see some areas where he can actually be pretty effective. He is in the 59th percentile in spot-up situations. Now, playing alongside LeBron James and Rajon Rondo and Lonzo Ball, guys who are going to find the open man quite a bit, you could imagine where he'd get a lot of spot-up opportunities. He's also in the 58th percentile in ISO situations. So Carmelo Anthony is very much known as a ball stopper, a guy who wants to go one-on-one in ISO, but he's still okay at it. He's not off the charts or anything. He's not creating at a high level in isolation situations, but he can do it. It's not like he's just completely inept in that area suddenly. He is a decent ISO scorer, which does have some value. He is also in the 64th percentile in the pick and roll as a ball handler. So that's another good thing to know. You can give him the ball and run a pick and roll, and he can actually navigate it fairly well. All right, so those are all positive things that Carmelo Anthony would bring. Now, in the pick and roll, he does struggle as the roll man. only in the 10th percentile. So that's terrible. That's what's tanking his overall offensive average, is his percentage as the roll man in pick and roll. He's just not going to be great attacking the rim, although you could use him in some pick and pop situations. He also is only in the 41st percentile in transition. He's just not as quick as he used to be. I could see him in sort of a trailer role coming down the floor, but in general, the lightning quick Lakers led by Lonzo Ball are going to be beating him down the floor. So that may be a concern there. He's also in the 43rd percentile in post-up situations, so he's probably not a guy you're going to be throwing the ball to down in the post a whole heck of a lot unless he has a real mismatch, which could happen now that more and more teams are employing strict switching strategies. So something to consider there as well. Again, Carmelo Anthony, not the offensive player he was, but he's not terrible. He's not as bad as a lot of people make him out to be. On defense, I was shocked. He's in the 72nd percentile overall. And I think the reason why he has such a bad reputation for his defense, even though he rated pretty well, is because he gets destroyed in pick and roll. And because teams run pick and roll so much, it's obvious, it stands out. That's the type of thing you really noticed. He was in the 22nd percentile guarding the roll man and the 28th percentile guarding the ball handler. So neither one of those things are good. Again, he just doesn't quite have the foot speed anymore. So that's definitely not a good thing, especially for a Lakers team that is going to have to defend pick and roll a lot. Now, maybe you can switch it. Maybe the Lakers run switches enough to where you can mitigate that somewhat. But still, I wouldn't feel super comfortable having Carmelo Anthony switch out onto like a tiny point guard. Right? You don't want him doing that. You also don't want him switching onto a giant center. You don't want him dealing with like Joel Embiid or somebody like that. So that's a challenge as well. Again, not a perfect fit. But you know what? The Lakers do need a go-to scorer in half-court situations. We saw this last season. They love to get out and run. And when they could, they did fairly well. But when teams slowed them down and they had to play in the half court, they struggled a little bit. Lonzo Ball is not the best at creating his own offense in the half court. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope had to do it a little bit, but that's not really his forte. Brandon Ingram can do it. Okay, Julius Randle wound up doing it by default. Now you can say, yes, the Lakers have, and we even saw Brook Lopez do it a bit as well. You can say, yeah, the Lakers have LeBron now. He's going to fix all that. Well, sure he is, but LeBron is also going to be 34 next season. It's wonderful that the Lakers have LeBron James. Don't get me wrong. That was an amazing signing. I mean, that is the free agent of all free agents, and he came to the Lakers. Incredible, amazing. I still can't believe it. But now that you've got him, you want to preserve him. You've got LeBron James for 3 years minimum, maybe 4. He's got a player option on that 4th year. So you want to make sure that you get the best out of him. That means you don't want to play LeBron James 40 minutes a night. You want to be able to have other guys who can come in and take some of the burden off of him. Now, a lot of people have said, well, what if Carmelo Anthony comes in and he takes away Kyle Kuzma's minutes? He's eating into Kuzma's minutes. I look at it differently. What if Carmelo Anthony comes in and he's eating into Lance Stephenson's minutes? Lance Stephenson has his pluses as a player, but I'd take Carmelo Anthony over him. I certainly would. Carmelo Anthony is a much better threat from 3. Lance Stephenson is a better creator, but Carmelo Anthony is without a doubt a better shooter. And based on synergy stats, Carmelo Anthony is also a better defender. Lance Stephenson has this reputation as a good defender, but he hasn't been a true good defender in a while. Yes, he brings that grit and that toughness, and yes, there is a role for that on every team. But if Carmelo Anthony is sliding into Lance Stephenson's minutes as a backup 3 or reserve 3, I think I'd be okay with that. I think that's a net positive there. So I think that's something to consider. Don't immediately assume, oh, Carmelo Anthony is now a power forward. He's going to take away Kyle Kuzma's minutes. The Lakers love Kuzma. I don't think they're going to do anything to jeopardize his minutes, especially if he's producing. And the way we've been hearing about his workouts this summer suggests that he's in for a big season next year. Carmelo Anthony could also be a little bit more effective if he's willing to come off the bench. Now, again, that's a huge red flag. We don't know if he's going to be willing to do that, and maybe not. He's talked about not wanting to come off the bench in the past, but maybe on a team with LeBron, he'll be interested in doing that. He's got 15 seasons in the NBA, and yes, he's slowing down. He's 34 years old. Father Time is undefeated. That's the way it goes. But you could imagine a situation where Carmelo Anthony finds his effectiveness going up when he's playing against opposing benches. So rather than going up against some of the best players on the opposing teams, rather than having to deal with like Giannis Antetokounmpo, other guys that are of that caliber, your Jimmy Butlers, your Paul Georges, rather than having to deal with those elite wings of the NBA, maybe Carmelo Anthony comes off the bench and then you're dealing with the backups. And that's where his experience really shines through, and that's where maybe he can become a more efficient player. Now, again, that's a huge if. We don't know if he's willing to accept that role, but that would almost be a something that would have to happen in order for him to make the Los Angeles Lakers, because you have to assume Brandon Ingram and LeBron James will be starting on the wings. And if not one of them, if Ingram slides up to the 2, that likely means that Kyle Kuzma is sliding into the starting lineup. So again, he would almost have to accept a bench role with the Lakers, and that's a huge if. We don't even know if he'll be willing to do that. Now, all that being said, again, my ultimate conclusion is that I don't think that Carmelo Anthony is as bad of a pickup for the Lakers as a lot of people make him out to be. A lot of people think he's going to be a malcontent, that he's not going to be happy with his role, that he's going to be complaining about shots, that all these things are going to happen. You know what? The Lakers have so many veterans on this team, so many players that he respects, not to mention LeBron James, that you kind of just have to cross your fingers and hope that talent wins out. And if you are bringing him in, ideally it would be for a veteran minimum exception, because the Oklahoma City Thunder are still paying his salary. They still have to pay him, even though they waive him and possibly stretch him. They still have to pay that salary to Carmelo Anthony, so he's still making his money. So he doesn't have to take a big offer from the Lakers, which brings me to my next point. If it comes down to this, if the question is, do you take on Carmelo Anthony or Brook Lopez? I think you go Brook Lopez all day, every day. Because right now the Lakers only have JaVale McGee, and I don't like the idea of going into the season with JaVale McGee as their starting center. That's not to say JaVale McGee doesn't have merit. I think he was a perfectly fine signing for a veteran minimum deal. No problems with it whatsoever. But I would much rather have Brook Lopez in the starting lineup as the center rather than JaVale McGee, for obvious reasons, spacing and just overall ability and all those things. So yes, if it's between Carmelo Anthony and Brook Lopez, I take Brook Lopez all day, every day. We know the Lakers have a little bit over $5 million left to spend, and if Brook Lopez wants that money and that knocks you out of the running for Carmelo Anthony, so be it. Take Brook Lopez every day, smile, be happy that you got him. However, if you can get Brook Lopez and then Carmelo is willing to take that veteran minimum, knowing that he's still getting paid by OKC, I think that's a really interesting idea. No, maybe he's not the long-term piece that you want or anything, but given the way this roster has been put together and given the lack of shooting that we've got from guys like Lance Stevenson and Rondo and players like that, I think it might be worth a shot. I will also say this, though. I do think he's going to go to Houston. I think if he hits the market, Houston's there. They've just lost Trevor Ariza to the Phoenix Suns, so there's a set role already for him. Carmelo Anthony could even start for the Houston Rockets. I don't know if he absolutely will, but he could. So that's I think that would be the more appealing destination for him. But you know what? If he does want to go play with his buddy LeBron James, I wouldn't be 100% against it, despite what the reaction on Twitter was amongst Lakers fans. Again, I think there are some very real, useful things that Carmelo Anthony can do. Yes, he has some serious flaws as well, but if you're getting him at a cheap price, then you're somewhat mitigating that risk already, because you're not paying a ton to bring him on. So if you can find a way to deal with those drawbacks, then so be it. Then you could get a productive player on a cheap salary, which is really what the Lakers are doing right now with the amount of space that they have left on this team. All right, that's going to do it for today. I'm going to finish packing, get ready to head out to Las Vegas. By the way, myself and the Lakers Nation team are going to be out there for the week. We're going to be covering all the Lakers games. If you see us out there, come say hi. We're not shy people. Come on over, say hi, hang out, and we'll talk some Lakers basketball. All right, again, my name is Trevor Lane. You can find me on Twitter at Trevor_Lane. Till next time, see ya.